Thank you, Karima, and I wish you all a good Saturday morning and once more welcome to Helsinki. My name is Anni Sinnemäki and I'm the Deputy Mayor of the City of Helsinki, and my responsibilities are city planning and the city's real estate. I think some of you recognize me, or I have seen you somewhere. I have been working for green political goals for a long time already. I used to be a member of parliament since 1999 for 16 years before I took the office of the deputy mayor in January this year. So in this position I am fairly new. I was born in Helsinki. I have lived in this city all of my life, and it's great to work for a city that you really love, where you have grown two children. One of my children is already a grown-up, and then my son is a small one. So I really feel the work of the deputy mayor as a personal thing, because I'm trying to make the city better for my children, the concrete ones, my own ones, and of course other children as well. Just a few words about the Greens in Helsinki. The Greens have been around in Helsinki city politics since actually the first half of 1980s. So we have here a long history. If we take the past 15 years and the municipal elections we have had at that time, 4 municipal elections, and the Greens have been 3 times the second biggest party and once the third biggest party. So at least even earlier in the 90s, but we could say that past 15 years we have had a lot of political influence in the city, and at the moment also we are the second biggest party here. We have not governed or ruled by ourselves, but all of the things we have achieved in the city have been by making coalitions. And we have been making coalitions to different with different political groups. We have been making coalitions with the Conservatives, with centrist parties, and with Social Democrats, and with left-wing parties. And sometimes different coalitions in different issues. That has varied. But alone, we have never had a majority. We have always had to find someone who believes in our goals. I was thinking of, I could first say or speak about sort of more like the city infrastructure, and also mention a few figures. I don't have slides, so I will try to repeat some of the figures so that they would be understandable to you. Then I will speak a bit about people, what people are doing, and something also about the services and the equality of the city. And then I will end with a sort of certain thesis or my understanding how I see the role of these cities in current situation in Europe. But first about what these are things that we have been really working for as Greens in the city. There have been a lot of talk about transport, so I will start with that. At the moment, of all journeys done in Helsinki, 11% are done by bike. So cycling is 11% of all journeys people make. Walking is 32. Public transport is 34. And the car takes only 22% of journeys made in Helsinki. And these figures that are pretty good, I think there has been a lot of work behind them in order to achieve them. And I have to say that these figures concern the city of Helsinki itself, that once we take the larger region and the cities next to us, we immediately jump into more normal figures, or we jump into a situation that is not as good as in Helsinki. So at the same time, when we work in Helsinki in order to increase the share of public transport and cycling, we also have to try to do our best to change the situation in the whole region of Helsinki. About these figures, I would say perhaps just a few comments. The one thing is that Helsinki is traditionally a good place for public transport, and we have always taken care of public transport. But what I do find especially hopeful is that although the level of public transport services has been fairly good for decades, there was a long time, since late 60s actually, there was a 40-year period when slowly but really with determination the share of private car journeys increased. And it's only past 2 years that trend has turned, and now the share of journeys made by private cars is not increased anymore. So that turn is a hopeful one, and it shows that we need determination and investment in order to make the public transport more attractive. And also the change in the figures in cycling, there has been a change just past perhaps 4 years or so, that the cycling that was quite steady before has increased fairly rapidly. My second comment in relation to this is that when you speak about cars and cities and the mode people choose in cities, it's really important to talk and make decisions about parking, because when you increase the price on parking, or when you diminish the space for parking, that has an immediate effect. So it's not only how attractive trams you have or how well they function, it's also about the space for parking. One figure still that is interesting, I think, with regard of cars in Helsinki. We have now, 2015, the same amount of cars than we had 8 years ago, 2007. And at that time, the population of Helsinki has grown by 55,000 inhabitants. So same amount of cars, but 55,000 new inhabitants. And that also shows that the trend is such that the private car is not so popular anymore. Then some more figures about CO2 emissions and climate policies. In Finland, nationally, our CO2 emissions at the moment, or approximately from 1990, we use the reference year 1990, from the Kyoto Protocol counting. We are somewhere around -12, -13% from the level of 1990. In Helsinki, the CO2 emissions are minus 23 from the level of 1990. And if we count per capita emissions or per person emissions, it's minus 37% from the level of 1990. And one figure that could also describe the situation is that the level of district heating, or the amount that we produce district heating, it has been more or less stable, not growing anymore for 10 years, from 2005. And at the same time, the population of Helsinki has grown by more than 60,000 people. And that more or less shows that it is the Helsinki is not such an industrial city. In this 10 years period, no significant changes have happened in that field. But this figure more or less tells about the energy efficiency of the buildings of the city. Well, we still have a lot to achieve, and this autumn is especially interesting in regard of energy policy of the city. We have a system of district heating, and also majority of the energy produced in Helsinki is combined heat and electricity. As Boris mentioned, that is typical for northern European cities. But and this system as itself, of course, it's fairly effective and it functions well and reliably. But our problem is that 2 of our power plants still burn coal. And this autumn is especially relevant because we are trying to achieve a decision where we decide upon when we will close the other one of these power plants. And we are trying to solve it so that it would be closed in the first half of 2020s. And then, of course, we still have a way to go with the second one, but we are perhaps thinking like taking one step at the time. About cycling, our goal now is to increase the share of cycling to be 15% till 2020. One could say that perhaps at the moment, if we see how cycling is going forward, it's not even such a mega ambitious goal. I do believe that we will achieve them. One can see that cycling is increasing all the time. Also, it's nearly every week that some new plan of new, better cycling path is being published, and we are building them to be better all the time. So I think that the attitudes are changing and the infrastructure for cycling is changing. So I think we might well go above the 15% goal by 2020. But of course, then we would still be quite far from the really super cycling cities of Europe like Amsterdam and Copenhagen. On my table, the most interesting and significant strategic decision is the new general plan of Helsinki. The new general plan aims to enable the growth of the city, because it seems that Helsinki is attractive. People are moving in from other parts of Finland. People are moving in from abroad. We also have universities, vocational training. Young people are moving in. We have a fairly young population, so there are also more babies being born than people dying. So the city is growing from many directions. So the new general plan tries to find out where we will build more so that it wouldn't destroy the city's forests and green areas so that the city would be denser, but at the same time also that we would have pleasant urban spaces, that we would have such a place where it's easy and also profitable enough to invest in new tram lines, and with new tram lines, of course, you need enough people along them. One of the most interesting examples or visions of the new general plan of Helsinki is the aim to change the motorways that come into the city to city boulevards that are good for tram lines, walking and cycling. There's some space for cars as well. And also we could take the motorway space and the space next to motorways into building new areas for the city. These projects have been made in many places on Earth, both in United States and in Europe, to my understanding as well. I think one of the first examples was in San Francisco, and they did it like by accident because there was an earthquake that destroyed a motorway and they didn't have money to build a new one, so the new area in the city just grew by accident. And usually all these examples show that the fact that many Greens know that cars do take the space they are given. But if you make the space smaller, if you make space for other things like people living there and for trams or bikes, these things will take the space. So in the vision of changing the motorways to boulevards, the Helsinki General Plan would be, I think, one of the most ambitious in this regard in the whole of Europe. Karima says, I don't have that much time. I had many things to say. I've tried to be a bit faster. I wanted to say that changes in Helsinki, they don't of course happen because there is a Green Party or politicians, Green politicians doing them. But you need people with you, you need a vibrant civil society, you need people active, you need people who want to influence their own city. And I think in Helsinki we are having these people and it feels great. We're having active people who are both tied to traditional activism, but there's clearly also new type of urban activism taking place in Helsinki. There's restaurant day where hundreds of people open their own small one-day restaurants in different parts of the city twice a year. There are cycling activists were the first that wanted really to change the motorways to make them better places. And there are also traditional civil society groups that work in different areas. And one thing that I am proud of Helsinki and happy is that we really have an equal city in the sense that even in the areas where the middle income is much lower than in the city altogether, people still like their neighborhoods and act in their neighborhoods. And that is also something that city has to be a partner with them in that. There's a new central library being built that I'm also proud of the whole library network that is fairly comprehensive in Helsinki. And to conclude, my feeling is that if we think of Europe and the challenges we are having at the moment, slow economic growth, no new jobs in many areas, xenophobia, rise of extremism, austerity that affects people's services. And our societies, we are not so good at creating equality and good public services when the economy is not growing. And I think actually that cities are in many ways the answer. They are answer in the sense that modern economy jobs are created in cities. If you want those jobs where you have specialists, where you have services, where you have new skills, it's much more likely that those jobs will be created in cities. On the other hand, if it's a fact that the economic growth will be slower than it used to be in the decades after the Second World War, as many argue for different reasons, I think still the cities are a good place to find the new policies to be equal, to create a good society, even when we do not have such a big amount of economic growth. So I think cities can be socially safe. In cities, it's easy to share things. You don't need so much resources to do good things than you need in perhaps scattered suburban areas. And at the moment, especially strongly, I do feel that since in Finland we have a center-right government where there's a really big party that is a populist right-wing party flirting with racism and even extreme right. I feel that the Helsinki is like a safe haven in this country where the political majority is completely different than in the whole of the country. When there are asylum seekers and refugees a lot, Helsinki has taken people in and being able to find places where these people can find shelter, and there are no demonstrators demonstrating against these asylum seekers. And I think that is because people find comfort in this city, and people find that this is a socially safe place where we can afford to have new people and to welcome people in difficult times. So in that sense, I would say that well-run, just, environmentally ambitious green cities are really the answer for the European burning political questions at the moment. Thank you, and I'm once more glad you came to Helsinki.
Thank you. Thank you, Anni, for your... I would like to thank all my speakers for your intervention, concrete solution. But now, I would like to give the floor to the public because we can open the debate. So, I don't know if we have a microphone. Okay, great.
If I may have a small and a big question. I'm Pierre Jaffé, Deputy Mayor of the 11th District of Paris, but I think you know that by now. I'll begin with the small one. I would be interested to know what you're doing in your different cities as far as the entering traffic of cars, whether you have tolls or special lanes for car sharing or things like that. And the big one is about the limits of growth. Because as you've demonstrated it, the green cities that are successful are attractive. And so they're growing, the population is growing. So how do you manage that growth without deteriorating what you've achieved, meaning without densifying the city too much or either pushing the poorest out of the city because of the price rise? Mm-hmm.
Come on, please.
Özge Can Kara, Turkey, Green Thought Association. Europe is now facing a big refugee crisis. Yesterday, Helsinki people were attacked, and Germany, as well as Belgium, is facing this crisis in Europe's doorstep. And our cities, I mean, European cities are not going to be the same when these people arrive and they are looking for housing and they want to be neighbors, but most of the time they're pushed in the peripheries of the cities. And I'm wondering how how cities are going to cope with this challenge, with this change, and how it is possible for us to integrate and be together in the cities.
Okay, thank you. And the last? Yeah?
Thanks. My name is Zoltán from Hungary, from Budapest. You hear me? Yeah. First of all, I'd like to salute you. For your achievements and for making, Europe greener and the Greens more European at a city level. As you know, I've come from a country which makes the headlines very frequently. So I really appreciate that this is an opportunity to learn from each other. I really think that the green cities and the local councillors make a very great contribution for countries where the Greens are active, are in parliament, like in my country, but are not governing and are very far away from that kind of position. I would like to ask, and I would like to thank especially Boris and Evelyn for the presentations, for talking about the energies, the dynamics of intellectuals, and especially, as Boris said, the doctors' contributions, the intellectuals' contribution to urban development. I would like to ask you, maybe both of you or all of you, how do you make a conscious kind of cooperation? How do you work with universities? How do you include them, the university population, and especially the students, not just the lecturers, when you make new visions for urban development? What kind of opportunities do you provide them, and how do you cooperate? And the other question that I would have might be a bit general, but I would try to phrase it more specifically. Because of our very long established cultural and historical connections to Baden-Württemberg and to Tübingen from Hungary. As you may know, in other countries, our two countries share very strong bonds and links in terms of our population as well in Baden-Württemberg. And for centuries, the University of Tübingen and also Brussels, actually, and other Belgian universities attracted a number of Hungarian and other Central European students. I would like to ask you, how do you deal with this multicultural or this international aspect or the European aspect of your, not just students, but also your population? Because, the immigration issue, of course, is number one in Europe. And immigration and mobility can be seen and is seen very frequently as a problem. But it is also an opportunity. It has been a catalyst, a driving force for development, for cultural richness. And I would like to ask you, what kind of strategies do you have to capitalize on the diversity, the cultural diversity of your immigrants or your newcomers from Europe? And especially for Boris in Tübingen, I would be interested whether you have specific Hungarian, German, or Schwab, Budapest, or other experience. Because I would be personally would be very interested to kind of establish and open up new channels between our cities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, my speakers, we have several issues. The growth and urban sprawl, the refugees issue, and the link between intellectual and students and the relation with the city. Who wants to start? Okay.
Okay.
Anni.
I start, and then others continue. I start with the incoming traffic question. At the moment in Helsinki, nor in Helsinki region, there are no tolls or special any special kind of taxes being collected specifically in certain places. Our regional traffic plan now has the idea of traffic pricing to be started by 2020. It's politically still not an easy issue, although it's there in the regional plan. So it's agreed not only by Helsinki, but the almost whole of the Helsinki region. And of course, it's a question that is especially hard for smaller municipalities, some 20, 30, 40 kilometers out of the city, where the share of car traffic is can be as high as 80% in commuting. But we are still working now with experts in order to figure out what kind of traffic pricing system would be the most suitable for the region. And there I would say that one important thing is not only to price the traffic that comes to the center of the area, but also to try to affect the diagonal dimension of the traffic and perhaps to have a smart enough system so that it would affect the peaks of the traffic and have some differentiation in that as well. And at the moment, I do believe that, although it will be hard, that we will have that system by 2020. At the moment, then, the traffic has been controlled by the level of public transport that has been fairly attractive, and at the same time by the space of parking, the given space for parking in the center of the city, because that clearly sets some limits how much car traffic the city comfortably takes in, and at some point people do believe if they don't have space, then they will use other means of transport. Then I will just quickly perhaps say a few words about the refugees and how to integrate them. It probably won't be an easy question because in Finland this is like in many other places, you have more people that have come than earlier. I would say one clear answer is that we need to increase the amount of city rental flats that we are building, because it's anyway quite normally the first way to find your accommodation after you have been received a permit. Of course, we don't yet know exactly what percentage of people in the end will stay in Finland, but probably quite high, because the areas where people have come from, mainly from Iraq, in Helsinki, you cannot send people back there anyway. At the moment, Helsinki builds, when we build, 20% is city rental flats. And now probably we have to think of whether that percentage is right, or if we increase the total target of building so that we would have also more affordable rental housing. And that is not probably even the most difficult question. I think training and entering people to the job market are it's less about clear numbers and more about mentality, culture, and being able to take people in, and that can be even harder than building new housing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Evelyn?
Yes. About the problem of the traffic and the people are coming from outside of Brussels. As I said, we have a lot of people coming, more than 50,000. So the solution are not easy, because, as I say, we are a region, and around our region there is another region, and so if we have to put a toll, we have to make an agreement with the other region, and they don't accept for the moment to put this toll around Brussels. So the solution can be also a toll in Brussels. It was one of the propositions of the ecologists, but we never had a consensus in the government to have this toll. Now there are other solutions. in Brussels to work on this point. For example, and that works now, since 10 years I asked, and it was in my environmental competence, to every enterprise with more than 50 workers, who have more than 50 workers, must have a plan. A mobility plan. And in this mobility plan, they must prove that they have a big part where they have co-displacement between the workers, that there is a percentage of the workers they are coming with the public transport, so that there is an equilibrium. Yes, between the different transport. So every year, each enterprise has to give to the government the plan, the mobility plan. That's new, and it works. Another thing is, of course, but it takes a long time, and that's not the competence of the region, is, as they have in many European cities, is the RER, express train. And it's always on buildings for the moment. So we hope they will finish in 2020, but it's very long. And another solution is also that we ask absolutely to have parking for cars, not just around Brussels, but at the end of the train lines. So the people coming from outside of Brussels, they can leave the cars 50 kilometers from Brussels, and then they take the train. For the question about how we work with university or research, the university, you have seen the initiative exemplary buildings, BATEX. There is a jury with about 10 persons. And always the university are in this jury. So every time we do a jury for this kind of initiative, we try to have teacher or also student who are part of this jury. And then we had also a lot of studies that we ask to the university, of course. And then the big question about immigration and today the refugees. Of course, it's the point of the actuality for the moment. You know, Brussels, it's also a big city center of Europe, so it's also a very old question. Since more than 50 years, we have, it's not very new for us also. We have but a lot of Italian, Spanish, and after Moroccan people who were coming, and then from the Balkan, and then now. It's always difficult, of course, and we have some problem in some district in Brussels. So all what we do in politics, in environment, in energy, we have to do it also with the people living in this this district, and also to maybe to use other tools with those people, and always to show also that the problem of environment, it's not only a problem of rich people, but also for this district. But today in Brussels, I think it's the same than in the other big cities with the refugee. We have a really big problem because in the center of Brussels, for the moment, we have a big camp, and for the first time, it's also the public and the citizens. We were the first who helped these people, and for the moment, really, we see that it's the citizen who give the lessons to the politic. to work with this refugee. But that's a big debate.
Okay, thank you, Evelyn. Boris?
Okay, as far as Hungary is concerned, no, I don't have any special relations. I'm sorry, maybe you will change that today. I know that the university has a partner university there, but that's not my business so far. Secondly, no, we don't have tolls or special lanes. Tübingen is far too small for that, but we do have a problem with commuters. As I said, 3/4 of the transportation in the city is done without the car. It's the other way around with commuters. 3 out of 4 commuters take the car, and therefore they create problems in the city as well. So I would be happy to have a solution for that. I thought loudly about a toll 4 years ago, and then I had the biggest demonstrations ever in town against me because thinking about that. So I really wrapped that plan, and don't think that's feasible in a city in Germany so far. It's not even possible because the law doesn't allow a city to do it. So laws we would have to change the laws, and then cities could implement the plan. So that's far ahead. But what we're doing is that we upgrade our train system. So we have a heavy rail system, and we want to upgrade that to a light rail system to expand it into the city. The planning process has been started, and the whole project is budgeted to have an investment of 1 billion euros in the region, with the Tübingen at the center. So light rail system will start at the year 2020 with the first line, and we want to have 4 of those lines in the future. And I think that is the best option at the moment available as far as commuter problems are concerned. The other question about asylum seekers, to be honest, if the numbers stay as high as they are, I don't have a solution. And I think it's important to say that. So just to give you a feeling, because the situation in Germany is very different to other European countries, most other European countries except for Sweden maybe, at the moment, we have a number of arriving asylum seekers of 100 per month in the city of Tübingen. So that is 1,000, 1,200 per year. And during the last years, we have been able to build social housing for about 150 people a year. So we would have to increase, I don't know the percentage of people that stay, but if it's half the arrivals, and I think it will be more, then we would have to increase the number of publicly owned buildings, the rate of buildings by 5 or 6 within 2 years. I don't think that's possible, to be honest. So what we're doing at the moment is we are using sports halls, industrial halls, whatever we can get, and there we put 100 or 200, even 400 beds in one hall, and that's where they stay at the moment. I don't have a solution how to get them out of these halls within a period of time that would be acceptable. And that is the same almost in every town in Germany. So the numbers are so high at the moment that we're really facing a big problem. And if we're going to solve it, it will be, I guess, what you want to prevent. So that is a city for 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 people built at once, and mostly for asylum seekers and people with low income. So that is doomed to create new problems. The solution creates the next problem. So with these numbers, I'm sorry, even as a Green mayor, I don't have a good solution at the moment.
Okay. Do you have another question? Where is the microphone? Yeah. I have a question. We did not talk about environmental taxation. I believe when we talk about transport, the city, the rural about this taxation is very important because we can have a new investment. So in your city, in your country, this question, environmental taxation exists or not?
I can start with that because 17 years ago, when I joined the first Green Party convention, we have debated a plan to raise petrol taxes up to 5 marks, that's €2.50, of course, per liter. And that was the campaign that reduced the green vote the fastest ever. So, having made that experience, the Greens in Germany have decided not to talk about that anymore. I don't think that's a good decision because it's a good policy to raise taxes on the use of the environment and to lower taxes on income and social welfare. But the plan is back to the situation in the 1990s when we have debated it and we haven't improved it anymore, so it's virtually gone. I do regret that. I think it would be good, but it has proved to appall voters.
Ok. Annie.
Sur la... Oui.
Attends, Evelyne, Annie, et puis après c'est ça, t'as élu. Annie, it's you, if you want. Pardon.
Thank you. In Finland, the environmental taxation is really on the national level, and I think at the moment the share of environmental taxes from the national tax revenue is 7%. That is, to my understanding, roughly the European average. My experience, my political experience is, well, perhaps a bit the same than with Boris, that it's not such an easy issue or a good issue to attract voters. Also, my experience is I have been a government minister to introduce certain new legislation on environmental taxes and also supporting that in the parliament, that usually the best possibilities to achieve new environmental taxation is when the state has a lack of money. So that is the time when also other parties than Greens are willing to think about environmental taxation. In Helsinki we do not have that, but I could just mention that, of course, the traffic toll system or the traffic pricing system that we are now planning, that would mean revenue, and our discussions with the government are such that, of course, we would like to have such a pricing system, and it's the same than in Germany, that there would need to be a national law to support that then the whole of Helsinki region would have the revenue to itself, and it could be then invested into public transport.
Okay, thank you. And Evelyn?
Okay. In French, it's better. Okay. Alors, la fiscalité, la taxation, pour les écologistes, c'est très difficile de faire des taxes, enfin de faire une fiscalité environnementale, parce que nous avons en Belgique eu une très mauvaise expérience dans les années 90, où nous avons voulu, au niveau fédéral, imposer, et le nom était très mauvais, c'était des écotaxes. Donc, taxer les biens en fonction de leur degré de pollution. Le mot était très mauvais, puisque nous avons été définis comme des personnes qui voulaient absolument taxer la population. Donc ça a été très très mauvais, et ça reste toujours aujourd'hui dans la population, ça nous pèse. Les gens disent, bien sûr, les écologistes veulent toujours toujours taxés. Donc, quand je suis arrivée en 2004, j'ai travaillé autrement et j'ai travaillé plutôt qu'avec une taxation, avec des primes. C'est-à-dire qu'on donne des primes à ceux qui en font un geste écologiste. Et donc, c'était des primes, par exemple, en matière d'énergie, des primes pour l'isolation, des primes pour les toitures vertes. Donc, à ceux qui faisaient le geste écologique, on pouvait donner une prime. Et on avait réussi à avoir quand même un budget important par année pour ces primes. C'est ça qui a vraiment incité les gens à changer de comportement. Ici, je parle des primes en énergie. On a fait la même chose pour les bâtiments exemplaires, parce que maintenant ça diminue, mais un bâtiment exemplaire coûte plus cher qu'un autre bâtiment. Et donc on donnait une prime au mètre carré pour un comportement écologique. Et donc on voulait montrer aussi que faire un geste qui est bon pour la planète et l'environnement peut aussi coûter moins cher. Mais il ne coûte pas toujours moins cher à l'investissement, il coûte moins cher par après, par exemple dans un bâtiment où la facture d'énergie diminue par après. Mais ce n'est pas évident, évidemment, au début. La seule fiscalité qu'on a travaillée et qui va sans doute se mettre en route, c'est sur, et ça c'était la région pouvait le faire, la taxe de circulation et de mise en circulation des voitures. Et donc là, de travailler, on fait payer la taxe de circulation en fonction de l'éco-score de la voiture.
Au niveau régional.
Au niveau régional, absolument, mais ce n'est pas encore en place. Mais on a fait plusieurs études, justement, et donc ceux qui achètent des voitures qui sont moins polluantes payent moins cher leur taxe de circulation. Et enfin, il y a la taxe au kilomètre, qui est en Allemagne aussi, pour les camions et pour les voitures, mais qui n'est pas encore d'application, qui est un mauvais terme d'ailleurs, taxe au kilomètre, parce que évidemment les gens qui habitent en milieu rural disent mais nous on va payer beaucoup et puis en ville on va pas payer. Donc c'est expliquer que cette taxe au kilomètre, ça dépend aussi du degré de pollution de la voiture, de là où on se trouve en milieu rural ou en ville. Donc là, il y a tout un travail aussi sur cette fiscalité-là qui est fait pour l'instant.
Okay. Question. Where is the microphone? Okay.
Yeah, so I was going to answer to your comment first, Boris, about the immigration and where should you put immigrants and how's the situation there. I think that we have an opportunity as architects and urban planners to actually have resilient architecture. And by this I mean that if we have buildings that need repair or retrofitting, these could host immigrants while we lack housing. That could be a creative solution in the meanwhile. And I want also to say a comment to Anni. Like, we have been sharing these 3 visions of how we envision green cities, and of course we have spoken about renewable energies and everything like that we commonly know. But how would you envision sustainable jobs for the future, and particularly in the situation of Finland? Right now, I think we are facing a crisis. I come from Tampere's Greens, and I believe that immigration in this case could also bring a lot of expertise to create new startups. And there's an issue right now also that in Europe there's less startups that, for example, in US. And I think that that could boost up economy because in the end it would be also a sustainable job that would create more jobs and that would host perhaps more new forms of technologies, innovations, etc. I think that is something, and maybe you could answer how could Finland do that, or Europe in general do that, and like.
Okay.
My name is Pavla Brady and I'm the city councillor and former deputy mayor of the city of Opava in the Czech Republic. Two of you mentioned district heating, and of course district heating is some tool which can decrease the amount of emissions. But in my country, most of the cities, including ours, sold or privatized the district heating in the 90s, and at the moment people are disconnecting from it because it is much more expensive than the individual heating, gas heating, but still individual. So I wanted to ask you, your district heating, is it owned by city or how it works here? Thank you.
I think it's on now. Kia ora, me Teria today from New Zealand Green Party. What local procurement policies do you use to support social enterprise and to avoid the increasing privatisation that many national level governments are promoting around the world?
Can you repeat your question, because we don't...
So what local procurement policies do you use to support social enterprise in your cities as part of an economic growth, economic development strategy to help avoid the high risk of privatisation of public services, public resources that we see elsewhere in the world? In context, in New Zealand, we have a government who is increasingly selling off our state assets and contracting private enterprise to deliver social and community services. And so we are looking for ideas on procurement policies at a local and national government level to help promote social enterprise and to keep public services and public assets in public ownership and public management.
Okay. Any question? Okay, we can start with you, Boris, if you want.
Okay, the district heating, it's totally owned by the city. And I do think that is important because this is a system that can be built only once. So it's totally unfeasible to have two networks to create kind of a competition. That's stupid because you will have double the investment. So there is only one, and therefore this needs to be owned by the city. If not, you have either very high prices, as you told, or you have many people opting out, which is bad for the system as well. So it needs to be publicly owned because we have a compulsory system. Everybody has to join in, otherwise it's not feasible. And that refers to your question as well. So far, we don't have any national or state laws that force us to sell our local companies like power utilities, the system we just talked about. There is, of course, talking about that. That's the TTIP issue, but so far the federal government guarantees communities that they will not be forced to sell their facilities. And I think that is very important. We have a constitutional guarantee of self-government for the communities in Germany, and that is, I think, very important because if the mayor can't solve the problems of people anymore, that is harming democracy. And more than half of our budget and more than half of our public servants are working in the locally owned utilities. So if we were forced to sell them, we couldn't really deliver what people want from their local democracy anymore. And therefore, I would always fight against such laws or such regulations that would force us to sell these locally owned utilities. That is very important in Germany.
Okay, Anni?
Thank you. About district district heating in Helsinki, the situation is such that the city 100% owns the company that produces district heating and also the combined electricity. With the electricity, people can choose from whom they buy it, so it's not necessary to buy it from the Helsinki's own energy company. But with the district heating system, it's almost 100% compulsory to be connected to the system. There are perhaps really few examples. When you have your own private houses, you can perhaps dig a hole and take energy from the soil. But if you build apartments, many-story houses, then you are actually you have to be part of the district heating. And the revenue the energy company of Helsinki produces, it then of course comes to the benefit of the city of Helsinki. What we were forced to do by European legislation was to have the utility in form of a company, not sort of a city energy department, because they sell electricity for the market. But more or less, I would also say, just briefly, that I do feel that Helsinki has a lot of independence in choosing whether we produce services by ourselves or if we buy them outside. And we have combination of things that some health services, for example, they are put to public procurement and we buy them from private companies, but majority of the system is still like publicly run. And I do believe that what we do have is the right to decide how we want to have things, whether it's public or if we want to buy something from the private market, then we can choose to do that. About the current economic situation in Finland and about refugees, I would agree quite much with your question. It's clear that part of the economic problems of Finland is that our age or demographic structure is such that the baby boom generation is aging, baby boom generation is retiring, and the generations that are being born in 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s, they are significantly smaller. So we do need more people, and this crisis that has, the cause of it has been tragic and completely something different than the economic situation in Finland, of course, gives us a sudden opportunity to have more people, and also many economists in Finland have pointed out that actually these are people that we do need. I agree with Boris that in the sense that at the moment, although the numbers have not been so high in Finland as in Germany, we don't yet have all the answers, how we will house people, how we will do it so that we wouldn't have sort of completely like areas where you don't have anyone else than migrants or people who have come as refugees. But still more, I see many people who have come have education, and if we just find the adaptability from our society, I think then it offers us lots of possibilities. But if we act as we used to, that it's hard to enter the labor market, at least with high education, then we will lose, and those people who have come will lose, because they won't find opportunities, and we don't get the benefits as an economy. I would just add that already at the moment, although there is high unemployment in certain immigrant groups, but also the number of people with foreign origin working in Finland, it's also increasing. So already you can see that actually our economy very badly needs immigration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now, Evelyn, what do you think about the question about refugees? Yeah, I know it's very hard.
Pardon.
But the region,
Yes,
Brussels region.
I was thinking about another question. Donc, j'avais d'abord voulu répondre, oui, en français. Non, d'abord, rapidement, pour la question de l'énergie à Bruxelles, en fait, nous, pour tout ce qui est le gaz et l'électricité, nous avons, donc, depuis la libéralisation du marché du gaz et l'électricité, nous avons 4 ou 5 fournisseurs à Bruxelles, principalement, donc, c'est du gaz naturel. Nous avons encore en Belgique, comme en France, de l'énergie nucléaire, malheureusement. Sur Bruxelles, l'énergie renouvelable, nous n'avons pas d'éoliennes, mais nous avons principalement de la cogénération ou des panneaux photovoltaïques. Et ce que les écologistes ont fait quand il y a eu la libéralisation du marché de gaz et d'électricité, c'est que nous avons fait une législation très claire pour préserver, protéger les catégories les plus faibles, socialement les plus faibles, contre les éventuels abus des fournisseurs. Et donc, il y a des règles très strictes où il ne peut pas y avoir de coupure de gaz et d'électricité pendant plusieurs mois en hiver, ou alors que les fournisseurs voulaient des contrats absolument pendant 3 ans, les clients peuvent arrêter les contrats avant les 3 ans, et où on a institué un système aussi de médiation avec les populations les plus fragilisées entre les fournisseurs et ces personnes-là. Ça, c'est pour le système gaz-électricité. Sur la question des réfugiés, je ne sais pas si on a la réponse ici aujourd'hui. Je disais que pour l'instant, sur Bruxelles, certains disent c'est le chaos, parce qu'on voit arriver des milliers de réfugiés et que nous n'arrivons pas à absorber, évidemment, tous ces réfugiés. Quand je dis absorber, c'est-à-dire à pouvoir les inscrire, pouvoir leur offrir en tout cas un logement, un enseignement. Donc aujourd'hui, on est véritablement dans une période de crise qu'on essaye de gérer. Sans oublier que, je prends Bruxelles, dans nos communes, nous avons également, et je le sais parce que j'ai géré tout ce qui était les affaires sociales et le dispositif hivernal, je crains le mois prochain, quand il va faire froid, et que nous avons énormément de sans-abri sur Bruxelles, où nous avons d'ailleurs mobilisé des bâtiments pour les sans-abri, mais aujourd'hui nous aurons en plus les réfugiés, plus une forte population très pauvre à Bruxelles et un manque à Bruxelles, contrairement à d'autres pays, de logements sociaux. Donc nous sommes véritablement devant une grande crise, mais qui n'est pas non plus nouvelle, puisque nous avons déjà une population très très pauvre, où nous avons essayé de demander s'il pouvait aussi y avoir une solidarité entre toutes les communes belges, puisqu'on sait que toutes ces personnes affluent vers le centre et vers Bruxelles. Nous avons demandé que l'État fédéral également puisse nous aider et puisse aider pour que, également dans les communes rurales, il puisse y avoir une prise en charge. Et je salue aujourd'hui parce qu'on a heureusement un système associatif très très fort. Nous avons des mouvements citoyens très très forts et il y a un paradoxe aujourd'hui avec une population d'une part qui est très craintive et opposée à ces migrations, et de l'autre part on a des mouvements de solidarité énormes à Bruxelles et en Belgique, avec par exemple aujourd'hui, rien que sur Bruxelles en quelques jours, 400 ménages qui ont accepté de recevoir des populations réfugiées chez eux. Bien sûr, c'est du court terme, mais c'est pour dire combien aussi, du côté de la population, il y a des gestes de solidarité qui sont faits, mais ça pose aussi la question de la responsabilité du politique.
Merci beaucoup. I conclude in French. OK? Je voudrais remercier du fond de mon cœur nos chers et tendres intervenants qui sont venus nous redonner un peu de l'espoir. Nous sommes dans une période qui appelle à faire plus d'écologie, notamment à cette échelle locale. Et vous, par vos différentes expériences, vous arrivez justement à mettre le lien qu'est l'écologie avec les citoyens, mais surtout autour de projets. Le projet sur des thématiques qui nous concernent tous. On a parlé de la question des transports, on a parlé de la question de l'énergie, on a évoqué un petit peu la question de logement pour dire que les politiques de la ville, c'est pas un secteur. C'est une vision intégrée, c'est une vision globale. Et aussi, vous avez dit quelque chose, et c'est Boris qui l'a très bien dit, parce que je l'ai un peu titillé, notamment sur le sommet climat, mais la bataille du climat se fera avec les villes, et dans les villes. Parce que c'est là où se passe aussi le destin au plus près des citoyens. On ne peut pas oublier que la population, et tous les chiffres le montrent, de plus en plus de population va vivre en ville demain, donc dans des zones urbaines. Et en même temps, n'oublions pas les zones rurales. On ne les a pas du tout, ou principalement pas évoquées, mais je crois qu'il faut faire attention de ne pas mettre en compétition les zones rurales des zones urbaines, parce que souvent, les zones rurales se sentent complètement délaissées, alors que là aussi, il y a c'est une véritable richesse en termes agricoles, en termes aussi d'innovation qu'il va falloir relever. Alors, je vais terminer juste en vous disant que oui, les villes, c'est la clé d'un développement soutenable et durable. En tout cas, vous pouvez compter sur vos élus, à tous les niveaux, au niveau local, au niveau national, au niveau régional et même au niveau européen. Et je regarde au loin mon ami Reinhard Bütikofer. Je salue Reinhard Bütikofer qui fait un travail super sur... I just want to thank you, Reinhard, for your job when you talk about green city. That's all. Yes. Je pense qu'on peut vraiment tous... I would like to applaud my speakers. And the next meeting is after the lunch. Thank you. No. Now we have a new plenary. I don't hear you. Okay, now, pardon, sorry. Now we have a presentation of the campaign in Paris, COP21. Thank you.